Hello once again to another episode of BlokeBusters Rewind. This episode is an interview that I conducted with Sean Hartofilis quite a while ago now about his film Beach Pillows. And the reason that I'm releasing this one again is that there is another interview with him coming very soon where we talk about his latest film. So I hope that you guys will listen to this and enjoy what we have to say. Please do check out the film. It was very cool and actually put me in mind of Wes Anderson. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it, and then we will see you again, as I said, quite soon for a sequel interview, as it were. Enjoy.
The BlokeBusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the BlokeBusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again we've managed to snag ourselves a film director. I know, doing quite well for ourselves, aren't we? And we decided to sit down and talk to him about his latest film called Beach Pillows and see what sort of insight we could get into filmmaking and the state of cinema in general at the moment. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thank you for downloading the BlokeBusters podcast. It's just Paul today, but I have decided to grab a hold of a couple of people who have been involved in a film that's come out recently called Beach Pillows. And those two people are...
This is Sean Hartofilis, the writer and director of the movie.
And I'm Pete Ianni. I played Ed in the movie.
Alright. And guys, would you like to tell us just... I know because I've seen it, but we'd like to tell the other people what this film is about.
Yeah, it's kind of a Brothers Keeper comedy set on Long Island, where we're both from, and it's about two best friends in their 20s, kind of very different personalities, growing up over the course of a summer full of kind of heartbreak and you know, crime and lawsuits and trials and self-discovery, and they're just kind of learning things from each other in order to become whole people. And, you know, it's in the spirit of coming-of-age films like Mean Streets or Withnail and I or The Graduate, even something like Husbands, which is about middle-aged men, but I always saw that as a little bit of a coming-of-age story. So, yeah, very much the story of an artist, kind of where he comes from and how he became the artist he is. I always liked those movies, so I wanted to make that be my first one.
All right. Well, I was going to say, I got it written down here, that it did kind of have a Wes Anderson feel to it. By the end of it, I was reminded of Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
That kind of feel to the film. So I'd say you did very well when it comes to doing that.
That's really nice. I mean, he's he's I love everything he's ever done. There was never that. I think a lot of people are coming back around to him. But he's great. He's always been an inspiration, and I think the films and literature that inspired him had a big influence on me too. But yeah, I love that he makes personal movies, and he incorporates people from his life into these stories and kind of creates his own worlds. It's funny, but I think there's an epidemic though today also because he's such an influential director of a lot of people kind of copying his style, which is so signature. My DP, I storyboarded the movie and had a very specific point of view and kind of a visual perspective on telling a story. But we would always, because he is such kind of a clear and influential presence, I'm sure among most contemporary filmmakers, I would always say to my DP, okay, how do we make it not look like a Wes Anderson movie? Because, Bottle Rocket was an inspiration, and it's a similar kind of Brothers Keeper story about where Wes is from. So yeah, we wanted to make it our own tone and kind of our own setting, our own style, our own visual presentation, but he's someone who really cares about the way the shots are composed, the way they're cut together, and there's just a lot of care in the filmmaking, and I certainly try to bring that level of kind of care and planning to what I do. And no, I love his movies. Hopefully we're doing our own thing a little bit, but I could certainly see the parallel, and it's flattering. I think he's great.
Well, yeah, obviously I didn't mean to say, well, you appear to be ripping off Wes Anderson here. But, I think that when it comes to the sort of coming-of-age stuff, you do tend to find similar themes in that. So.
Sure, I think without a doubt. And what I tried to do with this one is just make it as personal and specific and real as possible, based on my, life and emotional experiences, in order for it to be, one, unique, its own thing, but also relatable on that scale.
Right, yeah, well, I was going to ask you if there was a bit of a kernel of your own life in there, but obviously you just said that is exactly what's in there, because it seemed to me, not really having dealt with it that much myself in my own life, so I couldn't draw from my experiences of it, but it seemed to me to be one of the best portrayals of dealing with rejection and betrayal that I've seen put up on cinema, because this is possibly one of the most realistic reactions I would expect from someone under these circumstances. Obviously, I'm not going to try and spoil it for people that haven't seen it, but it was definitely the most human reaction I've seen in film to this sort of thing, and so I was going to ask if maybe something had happened to you that you drew upon for this, or if it was all down to the fantastic performances in the film.
Well, thanks for saying all of that. That's really, that means a lot to me. I'm glad it affected you in that way. I'll say a little, and then maybe Pete can chime in, because he's my friend from high school and kind of is aware of maybe the reality of a lot of this. But in terms of, the heartbreak he suffers in the first 20 minutes and being cuckolded by his, longtime girlfriend. Yeah. I guess I'm giving it away, but it's more about, the scene itself is kind of surprising. And that's in the description of the film, I think.
It is.
But anyway, I honestly, I do enjoy keeping that a secret. I think most people come in relatively uninitiated and are surprised by that and affected. But anyway, I didn't see, I'm currently married to a girl I was with for 10 years, so it's not her, but I experienced kind of heartbreak in high school, and I think everybody does at some point. So I just drew on the emotional experience of that, and then as I was writing the scene specifically, where Morgan, is hit with this, I just tried to make myself and the audience feel the way that I felt with what I was writing. So that was kind of, that was basically invented. But I very much felt like I was in his shoes, and it felt real to me, and I've dealt with that heartbreak, as I'm sure everybody has.
Yeah, well, we had friends go through that kind of stuff, especially in high school. I think everybody has friends go through.
Yeah, high school maybe more than not. This, we're kind of raising the stakes because he's out of college and there's so much more at stake. He's kind of ready to marry her. But yeah, high school, no, everybody's kind of looking for a better deal, I think. So yeah, I think everybody's experienced it, and it was a great catalyst for this person to reevaluate his entire life and kind of figure out what was going to give it value. Because he put the whole value of his life into this relationship, because he wasn't satisfied at work or really in any other aspect. So yeah, that's what it's about. It's about what gives your life value, and I think you have to find that before anybody else is going to be happy with you. Because if you're not kind of happy with yourself on your own, I don't know how much the rest of it's going to work. But do you want to talk about what might be real in the movie, Pete, without getting too? I mean,
there's a lot of stuff that was that I felt was pretty real. I mean,
or based on our lives. I mean that. The thing with the breaking breaking the mailbox with the skateboard, that we cut school one day, and
Yep.
kind of these kids. I don't know if they threw water balloons, but they were giving us a hard
Yeah.
time. Some young kids, and I think I got out and, and stole their skateboard and broke the nearest mailbox with it. And then we quickly realized, well, that probably wasn't even their mailbox.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, and then that scene where Nick gets decked down the stairs at the bar.
Oh yeah, that happened.
That happened to me.
Ah.
I was
Yeah,
just,
that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. I was more just. It was funny. I was talking with a friend at the bar actually that we shot that scene, and this is years ago. And I was joking around with a friend, kind of that I knew from home, and then knew in college a little bit. But anyway, his friend thought we were serious and was like, "You want to go outside?" And I was, drunk, and I was like, "Sure." So I turned around, walked out the door, and immediately just kind of blacked out and woke up on the ground with this kid on top of me, swinging at my face, and I'm kind of shielding myself with my hands, and he's trying to bite my finger off. So that, I mean, those are the things. It's like they're so funny. Why not put them in the movie and build scenes around them and kind of. So yeah, no, they're very real, and certainly a lot of the conversations were inspired by kind of discussion and banter amongst friends. And the beach pillow, Brian, our other friend Brian Caslin, and I, went to the beach one summer, like every day after work, maybe before senior year of college, and we just talked about what we want to do, talked about movies, and kind of invented this beach pillow as a real product. But neither of us were really going into, I don't know, retail. Yeah. So it became an interesting metaphor for kind of creativity and independence, comfort, all these things. And I thought it worked.
I remember them talking about this invention, and I guess they never really involved me on the ground floor, so I was a little perturbed.
Yeah. The scene in the pool might have been pretty accurate to Pete's reaction, where he's kind of challenging Nick. And it's it's fiction, but like anything else, it's write what you know. And for me, it was more about the way I was feeling after college, and the 10 years really after college. I tried to keep it alive and kind of keep making it stronger and realer. So I'd say the emotional perspective is the realest thing about it. And inside of it, I just tried to make myself again feel the way these characters felt with the words I was writing, and then the hope is that audiences feel the same.
Well, I'll say that definitely watching the film, I was shocked when the idea of the beach pillows came up, and I thought, how have I never seen this somewhere before? Why doesn't this exist?
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, when we came up with it, as far as I know, this is like 12 years ago maybe, as far as I know, it didn't exist. In the years since, you've seen websites and stuff on the internet, even if you Google search the title of our movie, other products will come up. And even now I'm into the social media trying to promote the movie. There's a lot of different people trying to sell beach pillows on Twitter, but none of them look like ours, and none of them are kind of constructed the way Nick describes it. So right. I think we still occupy some original space, but it's crazy. We thought it was a great invention because whenever you're at the beach, you're just trying to get comfortable in the sand, and it usually doesn't work.
Yeah,
I still don't see it. I still don't.
Pete still doesn't get the idea, so you can see how this fits. He's like pretty contrarian. I'm not sure how much that comes across in the movie, but when you have somebody to bounce off of, it's just it's easy to kind of elaborate this dialogue, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could always argue that since you guys came up with the idea but did nothing about it, you were more the Morgan type. and now, unfortunately, other people have created them, as you said, not necessarily exactly as it is in the film.
Yeah.
But they do exist in other forms, so you kind of missed your opportunity there.
Maybe. Yeah, I wonder if we would have... God, I mean, it's true. But I consider having made the film to be, my product, or output based on the idea. But maybe there's an opportunity for partnership if one of these people want to like give us a push and vice versa. I'm into it.
There you go. Maybe reach out to them on Twitter and see if anyone bites. You never know.
We'll see, man. Worth a shot.
I will say, I told, with regard to the name of the film, I told my wife what film it was and that I was going to talk to you. I told my sister-in-law, and I told my sister-in-law's husband. All three of them came up with a different idea as to what the film Beach Pillows could be about. My wife was a little concerned that it might be something a little XXX.
Morning. Yeah.
My sister-in-law immediately jumped to fat people on the beach. And then my brother-in-law, I guess it would be, thought that it was just about sand dunes. So like, I realized when talking to these people that just by saying beach pillows, it doesn't tell you at all what this film is about, and I actually like that.
I do too. I'm glad you said that.
Because I was thinking, even going back to Wes Anderson, Moonrise Kingdom. That film, you have no idea what that film is about based on that title. It's one of those films you go into and you have the experience just watching it, as opposed to, let's say, Die Hard 4. You know exactly what that film's going to be about. Yeah. So it was good to be able to sit down and just watch this rite of passage, as it were. Obviously, it would be a delayed rite of passage this guy goes through, but a rite of passage nevertheless. Yeah. And I've always enjoyed the films that can just take it slow and let you come with it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's kind of what I was going for. Even with the other promotional materials of the movie, I'm very conscious of not trying to let too much out there. Because, the storytelling structure, so many trailers, for example, will just kind of tell the story the way it unfolds on the screen, just abbreviated. Yeah. And it's like, okay, why am I going to see the movie now? So with the title, that's it. I love enigmatic titles, specifically two-word enigmatic titles like, you mentioned Moonrise Kingdom, but there's also Bottle Rocket, Citizen Kane, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction. Withnail and I would be 3 words, but Mean Streets, Eva DeYoni, Scarecrow. I guess that's a compound 1 word. But The Last Detail, pretty much even the original Die Hard, before the subsequent titles. Yeah. Die Hard, you don't really know what that's about necessarily, the first one anyway. True. And no, I'm all for that because the movies that have affected me the most, I didn't know much going into them. Yeah. Wes Anderson, Royal Tenenbaums I remember seeing in the theater, and you get, okay, it's a movie about a family, but then it's just kind of about everything. So I appreciate it. I think what hopefully it does is get people speculating on what it might be about and get them curious to see what it actually is about. But I'm with you on that one. I appreciate those kind of titles.
No, I do think that, a slight side note here, there's a film that has been crowdfunded now called Director's Cut, which is now in production, written by Penn Jillette. And the reason that it was crowdfunded, for the most part, is that he went to studios and they said, it's too smart for your average cinema goer. We're not going to be able to sell the tickets. We're not going to take it. So I find it kind of sad that there are some films that will only get made through either crowdfunding or local studios picking them up, where they do this, where they're either smarter or they will be slower and not as action-filled as your blockbusters. And I've been kind of sad that Hollywood tends to now just be going for either your sequels or your next big thing, rather than just making films like this, which are more substance than just showing. Not to say that the film doesn't look nice, because it does. It's a very nice looking film. I appreciate the slight grittiness to it that you don't see very often. But I was wondering, actually, did you have any parts of the film that you found difficult to write? Because obviously you were saying a lot of the conversations were able to just kind of flow from things you were drawing on that happened to you in real life, but was there anything that you were kind of stuck on for a few days or were having real trouble with?
That's an interesting question. First of all, I share your sentiments about kind of the Hollywood system today. I think, a lot of movies aren't getting made, and kind of the ones that I think a lot of film fans love, which are personal movies. And, if you give the director, writer some control to tell a unique story, as opposed to an established property or a sequel or a comic book. And, I hopefully it might be changing, kind of like the revival of the 70s in the U.S., but we shall see. I think everything's changing. Just the technology of the way movies are consumed is changing, so it's all a little bit up in the air. So that's, I guess, all I'll say about that. Unless we get back onto it. But was any part difficult to write? Writing is, for me, it's fun. It can be emotional and a little exhausting. But I don't think if I have a story to tell where I know kind of the way it starts and the way it ends, and I kind of have an idea of the characters, which I usually try to do going in, there's not a lot of blockage, because for me, I do a lot of my writing just, walking around, living. I'm kind of always thinking about these stories throughout the day and late into the night, so that when I sit down, I'm pretty much lubed up. I'm ready to go. But the difficult stuff, I would say maybe just the stuff with the parents.
Right.
Because that is, it is very personal, and I tried to make it real. But I was also very conscious of, I didn't want to make these, like the standard archetypal tropes of blowhard parents, kind of who don't understand what this kid's going through. Right. Because to me, one, they're just older people. They've experienced these things before. They're just older people, and they are probably more like our main character than anyone else in the world. They just happen to love him so much, and maybe more than themselves, so that creates a dynamic about the way they treat him. But it was important to me to get that right, to make it authentic, and to make it real, which can be tough, because a lot of times it's funny to go the joke. It's easy to go the jokey route. I think if you can make it real and also, have the comedy come from the reality of it, and the kind of tension and confusion and the love and all that other stuff, then it can be stronger. So that's something I maybe thought about and worked on more than some of the other stuff. And then, that's it. That's probably enough.
Fair enough. Yeah, you don't want to end up with... There tend to be either the almost army dad who's very strict on the kid, or... Well put. Or the mother who's just doting on them. And that you get a mixture of those, and sometimes it flipped, and you get them the other way around. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to not run into that if you're going to be making it, the way I would put it, is interesting to your average person, the person that doesn't want to go to the cinema and think. They just want to go and be entertained. And of course the most entertaining is your drill sergeant dad with the mother that loves you very much, and you don't want to fall into that if you're trying to actually get something across.
Yeah, because people are generally much more than that. I mean, I think there is something to be said about a yin-yang amongst just couples or parents. They usually tend to have disparate personalities, and that's why they work as a team. Yeah. But no, you're right. There's just so much about people. I try to make them as three-dimensional as possible, and really show that these people weren't the bane of Morgan's existence. He was more in his own way. They just wanted to understand what he was going through.
Yeah. Well, I think that is what it is with most parents.
Yeah.
Although I will say that my parents probably had a more interesting childhood than I did. I was just plain normal guy, didn't really do much. My parents were more interesting than me, which isn't something I've seen running into a lot. You don't get that in cinema very often.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, God, but it's true. I mean, my mom. I feel the same. My mom grew up on a farm in Ireland with 10 kids, and she came here when she was 18 to kind of for more opportunity, because she lived in County Derry, Northern Ireland, and that was the time of the Troubles. So she was a maid on Park Avenue, and she met my dad, who was a waiter in Manhattan, and he his parents were immigrants, and they roughed it. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So there's so much experience there to kind of to disqualify it or say, well, they're just old people, they don't understand anything. It's like, well, they've been through a lot. They've been through a lot that we haven't been through. So I think we should pay attention, and there's a lot to learn. I don't know if that's a little too preachy, but
no, it's a good point. Very good point. Well, moving away from the parents, then I think I came up with this question when I was talking to Adam Rifkin when we were able to talk to him, and I was thinking, most people are normally asked, what was your favorite day on set? Like, who was the best person to work with? I'm more interested in hearing, was there a day when nothing went right? Or just, like, you reach the end of the day, just like, that was a waste of time. Like,
right.
Was there ever a day where something went that wrong for you guys?
Well, some days were tougher than others. We shot the movie in 20 days, and I don't know what the script...
Was it the day it rained?
Weather was always tough because we needed to be outside a lot, and
right.
So we just have to flip stuff based on weather. But a lot of times that created opportunities to approach shots in a different way. So you just have to be flexible and kind of be on your feet a little bit. The toughest day, which was also the best day, the party was tough, but the last day, because we shot on the last day, Pete was there just watching, and we shot that emotional scene at the car at night after the fight, and the stuff, and we actually shot the fight outside the bar, them rolling around and getting into it with the the meathead and his girlfriend, and we also shot the thing with the cop. So it was just a lot of emotional stuff for the last day, which maybe wasn't the smartest way to go about it, but I think it worked. I think it helped for the performance, and everybody felt like it was something we were building towards. And it was emotional for the actors, and I think it was tiring. They're just going hard all day, really kind of dynamic, emotional scenes. So that was difficult, but it was really beautiful to watch too. And what made that day so great is when we wrapped at 3-4 in the morning, the whole crew drove to the beach, Tobay Beach, where we shot, one of the first scenes with Pete and Vinny, and we watched the sun come up and kind of just appreciated all the work we'd done. So yeah, usually on a small movie like this, you're gonna have rough days, and on any movie, but we didn't have the option to say let's punt, or it's not happening today. We had to be productive, or we weren't going to be able to tell our story. So, yeah, I just had to hustle.
Well, that's good. I mean, I know that a lot of films have reached a point where, because something happened that was uncontrollable, they then had to change one thing or another, and it even added to the film. So I didn't really think about how, with the smaller shoot schedule, that you need to film something no matter what. So it's good to hear that. You learn new things every day.
Yeah, it was the way we had to do it. And fortunately, I had a lot of time to plan, so I felt prepared. Maybe with a little more abbreviated pre-production, we might have been in trouble, but I had a good idea of what we needed to do.
Pete, talk about the scene in my apartment. That was a pretty rough one.
Yeah, what? Why? Pete's talking about the scene. Oh, okay. So Pete,
that's a good one.
Morgan and Nick's apartment, where there's the scene after Morgan gets arrested, and then they obviously live on those beds together.
Yeah.
That we shot that in Pete's apartment, his actual apartment, which is a few blocks away from me in Astoria, Queens, and his landlord, who's just kind of a crazy lady, just started.
Well, she had given permission.
She gave us permission, and
then when the crew showed up,
which often happens with a movie. You'll say, "Yeah, you shoot here," and they think it's like a college movie, and then 50 people show up, and things change, and they start asking for money and making your life hell. Right. So that happened.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I mean, there were headaches throughout, but for me, it's like you can't. Anything on any given day could have been defeating if you would allow it to defeat you. But I mean, at the end of the day, the job is I raised this much money. I've got 20 days to tell the story. So, if you take a blow, you just got to keep moving forward, because nobody cares. The people nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. All that matters is the movie that you make. How hard it was, Crimea River.
Well, I always find it interesting to hear what the challenges were, because then you can really start to appreciate, well, if they had to deal with all this and then they were still able to get this film made, they were still able to do what they wanted, it's more of a nice story at the end rather than listening to everyone saying, oh, every day was great. Yeah, we sat around and then we did a scene and that was it.
No, I loved every day that I was on set.
Pete had fun. This was Pete's
This
first.
was my first ever acting role, so...
Oh, nice. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. So I was having a great time just experiencing it all, just kind of taking it all in. I guess obviously I wasn't, it's not my baby, my dream movie. This is Sean's movie to make for a long time now. He's been trying to get it made, so it meant a lot more to him. And not to say it didn't mean much to me; it meant a lot to me. But I didn't deal with nearly half the pressures that Sean had to deal with. So, so I had a good time.
Maybe one. I hesitate to even say this, but the biggest kind of comprehensive battle was maybe the last week of shooting. I heard we were kind of backs against the wall in terms of our money, our budget.
Right.
But my line producer says, okay, we're making it work. And I hadn't heard this. We shot for 4 weeks, 20 days. So I hadn't heard anything up until then, been given opportunities to make decisions, to cut costs, any of that. And then we wrap, and the movie's in the can. I'm feeling great. My wife and I took a little, went on a little vacation or something. Right. And then I hear my cruise checks are bouncing, and we're, we don't have the money to pay these outstanding rental fees and all this stuff. So basically, I found myself in a position, and this, I hope it doesn't reflect negatively on the way we made the movie and kind of the planning, but we were over budget, and I was left scrambling. And I'll be honest, it was because of the line producer. He didn't have an idea of who I'm not trying to call anyone out. I didn't credit a line producer in the credits.
Good move.
Because he didn't do anything. But no, he just didn't. I think it's pretty easy to know what you're spending and where we're at. This guy didn't know, and I didn't know that he didn't know until it was kind of too late. So I had to, my wife and I had to go into the hole to pay people. We had to scramble, get some loans, raise some more money from our investors. But at the end of on our scale, it wasn't like life-shattering.
Right.
But it was a significant overage that was frustrating. But that didn't become known until, again, after we wrapped. So it's kind of a different pickle there. But yeah, that's all I'll say.
Well, yeah, you'd think, just a spreadsheet, maybe.
Exactly. Just like a digital Excel file, would just automatically update the numbers. It doesn't seem difficult. And it's a shame, because this is someone who I'd grown fairly close to and was kind of supportive of, as my whole crew, and someone I felt had my back, and vice versa. And then he just revealed himself to be a little bit incompetent there. Again, it could have been a lot worse, I'm sure. And most movies, I think, do go a lot further over budget. We still got it on schedule. And we shot it for less than any movie that anybody's seen, recently. But I don't think it looks that way.
No, yeah, I would say, and I do hate to keep going back to him, but your Wes Anderson films, it looks the same sort of polish as that, and I'm sure he had a bit of a bigger budget on his last few films. So
he had $6 million on Bottle Rocket.
Exactly. So I'm going to assume this film didn't cost $6 million.
This cost significantly less than $500,000 to make.
Wow. Okay, I'm genuinely surprised at that. I would have imagined it would be a little bit more. I mean, I can only assume the 20-day shoot schedule meant that you weren't paying loads of people for a long shoot, so that probably helped.
Yeah, and people were working generally for scale, and getting some equity. Certainly the actors.
Yeah, that is one thing I have noticed when I came out of film studies at university, is that it's kind of your catch-22. If you want any film experience, you need to have been in film before so that they'll give you the job. So it's one of those ones where even if you're looking for unpaid work, you still need to have had some experience before they give it to you. So yeah, I can understand this being one of those films where people were happy to do it because it's a fantastic story, and then it'll help them build their work, which will give them the incentive to do the best work they can. So it all came together.
It's a lot of that. Yeah, people looking for opportunities, people responding to the material and just wanting to be a part of it. But I totally sympathize with your chicken egg paradox. How do you get involved with a movie until you've been involved with one? That's been the battle, the decade-long battle with directing this film that I've written. And I think that problem's always going to be there. The only advice I could give is, break through the wall however you have to. Like, if there's something that's not getting done that's keeping the movie from being made, just figure out what that is and how to accomplish it. Because, there are people whose titles designate that, okay, I could do this for you. But it's like, well, if those people don't want to do it for you, then you have to do it some other way. So any port in a storm, basically.
Well, I'll say I may not be directly involved in film, but doing this podcast and being able to talk to people like you and Adam Rifkin, I feel like I could say right now, if you ever needed anyone to help out in Ohio, I'm here. I could do something. I could even do a little bit of editing for you if you ever needed it, because I could, try and build up my work that way as well. So, not that I am using this as an opportunity to push in, but
we're all hustling, so I don't mind.
The only other question that I had written down was, I was wondering if you were now handed a blank check and told, okay, you can do whatever film you want. If you want to write it or not, that's fine. Which actor or actress would you most want to go out and get to work with you? Is there anyone that you would just want to work with, no matter what?
That's tough. There's so many great actors out there. I felt so grateful to have worked with. I'll disqualify my cast on Beach Pillows just because.
Because you've worked with them.
Because I've worked with them. I'm sure I love a lot of the same people as everyone else. I'm blown away by what DiCaprio did in it, pretty much all of his work. But Wolf of Wall Street, I think that people should really recognize the kind of effort and commitment that went into that.
Oh yeah.
But I know what movie I want to make next. I'd say I know the next few. I've got them written. So, and I'm very. Jesus, Jack Nicholson, Robert De Niro, all these guys that were so formative in my filmmaking education, they would be great. Even Richard E. Grant from Withnail and I blows me away. And
oh yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah, love him. Bill Murray, obviously. Gene Hackman's done, but he's great. Pacino, all those guys. But the new guy I love is Adam Driver on the show Girls, and he's been getting some opportunities. He was in Lincoln, and I think he's in Scorsese's new movie Silence. He's been cast, but I think he to me he's evocative of a lot of those guys from the '70s, just in the emotional intensity and that he's got a different look about him that I think people maybe relate to or is more effective than just kind of a classic leading man. So I would like to work with him on the next movie. So I will, and I hopefully be approaching him with that in the next couple of months. Well,
I'm sure he's listening, so we'll put the word out for you.
I don't think he's on the internet very much, but
Oh, that's a shame.
he's in New York, so I think we'll have a chance to get to him. But yeah, I mean, Dustin Hoffman, so many great actors, kind of been influenced. Pete, any favorites?
No, I think you covered them just about.
Let me think of any outliers that just might be getting avoided here.
I would say if I could possibly go to any set and work with any actor, I would just love to be on set with Tom Hanks for the day. I think that his body of work is solid. He seems like such a great guy. I just kind of want to be there, be around him, and just enjoy knowing him for a day.
Sure. Ditto that. And that's so important. A lot of these actors or Hollywood stars, I don't know if you always get a sense of the way they are personally or kind of how they are under pressure.
Yeah.
Which a movie set is a high pressure situation. Just because of the time and money, it's the money at stake every moment. But right. The Tom Hanks is great, and I would love to work with him. I love his work, and he seems like such a great person. And I've got some stuff that I think he'd be great in, so we'll see. But Pete mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis, so he's obviously incredible. And,
oh yeah, definitely one of the best actors of this age, I would say.
Sure. And,
like in Lincoln, that was one of my favorite films of the last couple of years. So. Yeah,
it feels like you're not watching an actor. You just feel like you're watching a historical document. So that's a pretty impressive achievement, I think.
Yeah, like I would say, you can't look at Lincoln and think, oh, that's the guy from Gangs of New York. That's not the guy from Gangs of New York. That's Lincoln.
Yeah, yeah, he's the best. God, I love. This is fun to talk about. I wish I had. Wish I had some other ideas here, but
well, unfortunately, I'm probably gonna have to wrap this up.
Oh, that's fine.
Now, so I do apologize for that, but life gets in the way.
Yeah,
as this film kind of shows a little bit.
Oh, well, great tie up.
Oh, well, thank you. I tried. Well, I'll just say thank you very much for taking the time out to doing this. I know that you're probably busy promoting the film right now, so it's very much appreciated.
Our pleasure. Yeah, we're trying to be busy promoting it. We really believe in it and love it, and want as many people to know about it as possible. So we're just grateful for the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, no problem. I will let you guys know when this is out, and then obviously you can help me promote this, which will promote you. So there we
go. We will push it. And tell everyone if you and I just appreciate all you've said about the movie. That's why I made it. So I'm happy it affected you that way.
Well, and happy to tell you.
All right, Paul.
All right, well, thanks very much, and maybe we'll talk to you about your next project then.
I'd love that. Have a great day, Paul. Good to know you.
All right, good to know you too.
Take care.
Bye.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Brian here with a quick lesson in theater etiquette. We don't need to hear your comments after every single trailer.